Hey everybody, welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. I'm Robbie, that's Rex. It's Friday, so it's the Rex and Robbie show. What's up, Rex?
What's going on, buddy?
Chilling, enjoying a morning off. Got a little bit of PCP work to do today, and then I'm going to go watch a horror film at a movie theater. I'm going to watch the new movie X. Very excited for that. I'll be talking about that on Sunday night, if anybody's curious. Got big plans for the weekend, Rex?
That sounds like fun. Not really, just a little stuff here and there, but nothing too big or massive. So our Sixers beat up on your Lakers there a little bit there.
Yeah, that's expected at this point, honestly. So I'm not too worried about it anymore. I'm over basketball.
Well, LeBron was out too. LeBron was out too. So
yeah, and if LeBron's out, it's just not going to happen.
Davis has been out for. Yeah, now you got nobody. Obviously the Westbrook experiment did not work. So I'm curious to see what's going to happen in the offseason there. Now talk about LeBron not staying, but I don't know how true that is.
Yeah, I think LeBron will be there, but they gotta figure some stuff out in LA, like 100%. Like, because I don't even know if the offseason is going to be able to have them be able to handle the situation with Russell. Like, I don't know if they'll be able to get rid of him in the offseason. I don't know if anybody will want him. Will want that contract.
He's going to be tough to. Yeah, he's going to be tough to unload because of all the money they paid him. So I don't know. Who would really be willing to absorb it unless they ditch him and they eat the cap space. But I mean,
they may just have.
Obviously, they thought this was going to be. They thought this was going to be the solution, but clearly it did not work out. The Heat I find interesting though, the Miami Heat, a lack of any real true superstars, and they're playing some hard basketball there.
Yeah, they're playing really good and out of nowhere becoming a force to be reckoned with in the East. Like unexpected. Everybody was talking about the Sixers and the Nets and the Bucks, and then all of a sudden, well, what about the Heat? Don't sleep on the Heat.
Yeah. Although they had a little bit of drama, I think this week, when they were losing to the Warriors, so there was some tempers that flared. I think Butler was in Spolstra's face, and a lot of. So really, I think that the only people that can defeat the Heat is probably the Heat themselves.
Yeah.
So not sure what's going on there. I mean, they're doing really well. So you'd think they'd be a little happier than that, but.
Yeah, a few years ago when the Lakers beat them in the finals during the bubble, right? The Lakers get a lot of flack saying that championship doesn't really count, doesn't really matter. Well, the Heat were playing really good basketball during all that too. And so I'm sure they also have something that they want to prove. And this could be the season to do it.
It may be. They may be. I mean, they're a dangerous team. That much is for sure. So be interested to see how this all pans out, though. The West obviously is they're killing it, dude. I mean, they're just, with the Suns and just unreal. I mean, the kind of season that the West has had. So, but
and what's even more unreal? Well, what's even more unreal is that the Lakers are still in contention for a playoff spot.
It's because of the in-play thing, dude.
I know, man.
It's like you really got to be pretty sticky through the season not to at least get an opportunity, one last chance to knock on the door there. You literally got to be like the Houston Rockets.
Yeah.
I mean, some really, really sad. The New York Knicks, they are dysfunctional. Oh my gosh, every year is the same.
Anytime that they make some improvements, they take like 80 steps backwards. It seems they've been doing that for a long time.
It's ownership, bro. I mean, I have to say that problem, and now it's become its own self-fulfilling prophecy. Now they can't really attract any talent. There was always the New York market, play on a big stage, but I think that the Knicks have sufficiently screwed it up that players are saying, I don't want to go to play in New York. Now all of a sudden, the one disadvantage is obviously New York is a huge stage. The fans, can turn on a dime. But I think so that was always a negative. But then being able to play in New York, live in New York, I mean, that was definitely attraction. And somehow the Knicks have managed to squash that too. So it's a negative all the way around. You've got a dysfunctional team, dysfunctional ownership. and then I'm playing under the big lights of the city of New York. Now there's no upside,
Yeah.
You know it's going to go bad because they've consistently had losing seasons year after year. It's been decades now. And so the fans are going to turn on you. You know they're going to come to Madison Square Garden and boo and all kinds of stuff. And
yeah, you got to deal with Spike Lee out there on the sidewalk. I mean, on the
Spike Lee. But I think even worse. I mean, the most exciting thing that happens is not even Spike Lee anymore. It's whether or not Dolan gets insulted by a fan and has him removed from MSG. I mean, that's the most exciting thing you got to look at there.
Yeah.
So I just he needs to sell the team for the Knicks to have any success of any kind. He's really become the red flag for that team, and nobody wants to play there, and nobody wants to play under his ownership. But yeah, so if he doesn't go, the Knicks fans will you might as well just accept it's just going to be year after year after the year after of this nonsense. It's never going to change.
Yeah, I got a homie who's a big Knicks fan, and he just has to deal with this for his whole life, and, sucks to be him.
Pretty much.
But it is what it is.
But yeah, the last time the Knicks were the last time the Knicks were anything, Walt Frazier was still playing. I mean, it's just, it's pathetic. It really is.
So we do got a good.
But you picked up an interesting topic today.
Yeah, we got a great topic today, and what we're going to be talking about today, everybody, is the quality of Marvel Comics, and we mean the physical quality of the paper. All right, and we want to hear your thoughts, your opinions. Be sure to drop them in a comment below. You will be entered to win a contest. We'll announce that winner on Monday's show over at the Experience. We do a show every Monday night at 6 p.m. Eastern time for 2 hours. Rex, John, myself, the Dynamite crew, Dynamic Forces. It's fun. Lots of great conversation. Lots of great comics and collectibles are available to purchase, and just cool people in the chat as well. So let us know what you think about this topic. Marvel paper quality has honestly been dipping for a while now, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, ripped straight from the headlines. You're like Law and Order, man. Ripped from today's headlines is the topic of discussion. I know it's been going on for a while. I really hadn't, until Robbie actually emailed me the topic of the day. I hadn't really looked at it very closely. I didn't really, I had heard some mumblings about it, but I didn't really know much about it. So I did a little research before the show. And I'm amazed that it's gone back as far as I saw articles out there from 2015, people complaining about the quality. Because my initial, when I read your email, my initial guess was that it might have something to do with supply chain issues and, that type of thing that's been plaguing everybody, around the country. But now that I'm seeing that this issue has actually been happening even earlier, pre-pandemic, yeah, that was a head scratcher. I'm not entirely sure what's going on there. There are a lot of theories, obviously. Have you heard anything on your side?
Well, first of all, a lot of retailers are completely pissed about it, right? Because the customer base this week in particular. So the Marvel paper quality has been on the decline, but this week in particular, it hit such an egregious level that change has to be made. Like it's ridiculous. There were probably about 40 to 50% of the Marvel books released this week, which the Marvel books overall already have kind of low paper quality in comparison with other publishers, including small publishers, right? So it's already on the decline. Like several years ago, they decided to have the same paper stock for the cover as they did the inside, but now the insides are getting thinner. And what happened this week was a bunch of their books, Maestro, Savage Spider-Man, Iron Man, several others, were printed on paper so thin, it was literally like toilet paper. Like it was thinner than newsprint. It was not sturdy at all.
I saw a lot of comments,
Yeah, on my weekly comic book review, I held up a $2.99 Spawn comic with the cardstock cover, and it was like this. And then I held up a $4.99 Marvel comic, and it just completely 90-degree down, just completely. They're terrible because that paper is so thin. They're putting so much ink on it with the way that they color and print comics today that it was oversaturated, caused everything, all the pages to ripple, muddied up the artwork. Nothing looked clear. They took amazing cover artwork from Nick Bradshaw. They took amazing interior artwork from Herman Peralta and completely wrecked it by oversaturating ink into this super thin paper, and it is incredibly noticeable. Like the moment we grabbed one, we're like, what? Retailers made their voices heard. Marvel said that, oh yeah, there's going to be a few more over the next few weeks, but we're not going to do that anymore. We're going back to the normal stuff. And if you notice, it's their lower selling books that they were doing this on. This is intentional. I think as a retailer, I'm upset. As a fan, I'm upset because I understand, and I'm really interested in getting your perspective because, you know, I'm on that retail and fan side. You are,
Right.
you know, on that publishing side. So you got a little bit of a different perspective, and I understand that post-pandemic and all this kind of stuff, supply chain issues, print delays. I understand all of that, but it boggles my mind because it seems like out of all of the comic book publishers, Marvel should have the most resources. And when you've got companies like Scout Comics, you got companies like Vault Comics, you got Mad Cave, Dynamite, and we're not even talking about DC. We're talking about this, you know, some of the smaller, even some of the super, like Scout, like we're talking about some of the smallest publishers out there right now that make waves. Behemoth, right? Have intensely better paper quality than Marvel does. And I think it's been sliding down. They're trying to see what they can get away with. They realize they stepped too far. They're going to go back and they go, okay, so we can handle this. When DC shifted their books up to like mostly $1 more for like 8 more pages or $1 more for a cardstock cover, you know, a lot of us were kind of upset then, but I'll tell you what, I'd rather pay $5 to $6 for a high quality comic book from DC than $4 for something that just holding it, I'm going to damage the book and smudge ink off of it onto my fingers. You got any thoughts on this? Because all I've heard is that Marvel's like, okay, we won't use that paper anymore. No kind of commitment to using better stock. And it boggles my mind, Rex, because they should have the most resources out of all of these publishers.
Well, I have to say, I see this in two different ways. And when I say two different ways, I'm certainly not in support, nor am I trying to be an apologist for Marvel or anything like that. But what I see is, well, there's the intent, okay, what they were trying to accomplish. And then there is what happens later. So the aftermarket effect, okay? So we'll deal with the first question first. You bring up a very good point. Of all the publishers out there, Marvel certainly has the most in terms of resources to put the comic with quality paper, quality cover stock, that type of thing. But by the same token, you have to see that when a company reaches a certain size, okay, and Marvel certainly has reached a humongous size in terms of the comic book industry, but not only that, in terms of the MCU and everything else that's going on. And when you reach a certain level of size, I think as a corporation, you have so many people running around. It wouldn't totally surprise me that some bean counter in a windowless office running across the numbers says, hey, you know, we could increase our profits at the end of the year by X if we just go to a thinner paper quality. And, you know, I'm not pushing any accountants under the bus. That's their job. But the problem is when you allow that area of the company to make a decision about the product, the danger becomes, is that accountant a comic book reader? Probably not. Is that accountant or actuary or whoever's, you know, they're counting the numbers, is that person understand the nature of the product? Probably not. Okay. So if you are not a comic book collector, you are not a comic book reader, you are not a comic book fan, then these kind of subtleties will get lost. Because ultimately you go to that accountant and they have their nice job and their salary, and they're able to raise their family and buy a nice little suburban home. He probably scratches his head every day going, I don't even know why this even exists. Okay. You know, grown people reading, you know, pictures and comic books. I don't get it.
Yeah.
All right. But I don't care because it feeds my family, puts a roof over their head, college tuition, car for my teenager, whatever, you know, so they don't really think about it. So that's where I think you can go awry. Now, this is a more optimistic kind of outlook on this, right? So So then, not understanding the nature of it, they said, well, look, you put the paper there, and you put the thinner paper in there, and we're gonna save this much in costs, which makes the profit margins grow by X amount. And look, and stock options go up, and everybody's happy. And look, who cares? Not realizing that they would have this pushback that, you just sent me a case of comics and they're crap. Okay, they're literally, you're not the first person. When I was reading the articles about it, people are calling it like, it's tissue paper, it's toilet paper, and not realizing that fans would really be upset about it, and that when the art gets smudged, okay, because of the printing and the weight of the ink plus the flimsiness of the paper, that this is true, because it's tied into the same fact that person doesn't understand why you buy the comics in the first place. Okay. So if they don't understand that, then they're going to make decisions based on profitability and margins.
Yeah.
And that's how these things happen. Now, realizing this massive pushback that they've gone too far, obviously they've released, a statement saying, oh yeah, no, we understand, blah, 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 which I find interesting because, as you said, they never actually gave a reason as to why this happened. They said, oh, no, we're going back to, that's not going to happen anymore.
Yeah.
Okay. Without ever explaining why did it happen in the first place, which leads me to believe that obviously something happened. Somebody made a decision. It was a wrong decision. The pushback was massive. Okay. People freaked out and they realized they'd gone too far and now need to step back. As you say, I also read that they said they were not reprinting the books.
Yeah. That
it'll just stop. But now, with looking at it from a more positive outlook, saying that due to the size of the corporation itself, these things tend to happen, would not happen at a smaller publisher because there isn't all of these people, okay? And most of the people that are involved are people that have some connection to comics, however it is. I mean, I will tell you that most of the staff at Dynamite, most of the staff at Dynamic Forces have had a history in comics, whether as a collector, whether as a creator. All right. So, we have Mariano Nicieza, who's obviously a creator. I know one of our colleagues, Jeff, he was a huge collector, okay, who eventually crossed over. So you tend to have, and I think in a smaller company or smaller publisher, you tend to have more like-minded individuals that on some level, every employee, with the exception of accounting. But again, when you're looking at as a size of a Scout or a Dynamite or one of the smaller indies, IDW, you don't have a massive accounting team. Okay. Yeah. You don't have an entire department full of accountants running around, checking the margins, things like that. That's just the nature of size. You're
basically saying Marvel's got less people that care.
Well, I'm saying that once you get to a certain size, okay. Yeah. And you're now trying to fill thousands of spaces for employees. You can be a little less you have to be a little less choosy. Okay. Yeah. So if you bring in an accountant or an actuary or somebody of that nature, do you have an experience with comics? I don't know. I've never even picked up a comic my entire life. You're hired. Okay. Why? Because we got so much money flowing through the coffers. I need somebody to count it. Okay. You don't have to read comics, but you do know how to be an accountant, right? Oh yeah, I know how to do that. Okay. Well, now you're not selling apples anymore. You're selling comics. Okay. So, okay. Well, that's just a different kind of entry line, right? Or a ledger entry. And then eventually that department, like all large corporations, everybody's jockeying for position and promotions and everything else. Then it's very conceivable that you have someone higher up in the executive level who has a history of accounting, who may never have picked up a comic book. Okay. So that person, I don't want to say he doesn't care, but he doesn't understand. He doesn't understand.
I get that. Or like with smaller publishers, there's a smaller team, more people that are probably actually in it for the industry and not just for their chosen profession, like say it's accounting or something, right? Yeah. But for instance, and all I know is when I self-publish, we get like proof copies before we actually commit to the print run. Does that happen to y'all? You
Yeah,
get like,
absolutely. I mean, yeah,
okay,
before it actually goes
so
to print, I mean, we got a couple, a few people like looking at it,
so
editing
some
and that type of thing.
surely then somebody at Marvel got these and were like, yeah, that's good enough, right? Like that's wild. That's wild to me. Or maybe they
But
didn't. Maybe they were like, oh, here it is, and
well, who's to
I don't
say
know.
that there wasn't somebody in there, at Marvel who, I'm sure that there was. I'm sure that there were more than one who, said, "Hey, you can't do this," and tried to explain why. But if you're not an actual collector or reader, you don't understand that. You could explain it 9 different ways, and that person's just going to look at you, and with a blank look on their face, going, "I don't get it." Okay, because if they got it, they'd probably be reading comics, right?
Yeah.
So they don't get it, and and that person may have said there's going to be pushback. Now that person at the company probably looks like a genius at this moment in time because everybody pushed back. Okay, and hopefully he's having a smug moment, going, I told all you people this was going to happen. All right, nobody listened to me. All right, so that's the other thing about a big company is of that size is I believe that somebody probably raised a red flag and said, "Whoa, you guys, this is a bad idea. This is a real bad idea,"
Yeah.
and was summarily ignored. Because the decision makers, they're looking at the numbers, they're looking at what this guy's saying. Again, it's a very understanding why people do what they do with comics. You have to actually be part of it, and if you try to explain to somebody who is not part of it, it's because it's subtleties. It's the subtle nature of it, and you see the wide range of collectors and what they collect, and it's not all the same, but you can understand why, because you're also a comic collector and a comic reader. So you can understand where their motivation's coming from, even though you may not agree. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we just had on Wednesday, we had a discussion. I love Cyclops. Okay. John does not like Cyclops. One creator that he communicates with said that I said something very funny. So there was pushback in the chats. Some people, I love Cyclops. Some people, heel Cyclops is funny, and whatever. But we understand the nature of it. We just disagree on this particular character. That's a different kind of disagreement. Trying to explain why, that person, that the hypothetical person we're referring to that may have made that decision, looks at that and doesn't even understand the argument. You say, Cyclops, who cares?
Yeah.
Why are you even talking about, this person like he's a real person? So that could be lost. But that is my positive outlook on what's happened here. However, there is something that reserves my positive outlook a little bit, and something you mentioned. The fact that this only occurred with their weaker titles. That tends to indicate a deliberate plan to try and shave costs and experimenting with the weaker titles, because they figure if there's pushback, the pushback will be less. Okay. Yeah. Not anticipating that the pushback was really severe, because the fear of the comic collector is that this is going to be the wave of the future for Marvel, and that all the books are going to come out like this. Okay. It may not have read that title that initially came out this week, whichever, I think it was what were the titles that were out this week that you mentioned? But whatever.
Savage Spider-Man, Maestro.
Right.
What, and something, okay, for instance, one of their biggest launches this week was probably the Venom Lethal Protector, bringing back David Michelini, a legacy creator doing a legacy story set back in the earlier days of Venom. And that book had the average Marvel paper stock, which is already displeasing people. At my shop, I've already had people drop all Marvel books over paper qualities. They're like, I read them one time and the book is damaged. Like they ripple before I even get them home, right? Down here in Alabama, it's a little bit more humid. So sometimes just carrying a comic book outside to your car, and all of a sudden it's like rippled and saturated with moisture, and it's just, so I've already had people do that. I know YouTubers that refuse to buy Marvel comics now because of the quality of the actual physical artifact. We're not even talking about the content of the story, because I think Marvel's still doing good stuff as far as that goes at times, but the overall quality has dropped. It's already displeased some people. But yeah, you're right. It's the lesser selling titles, which means, because I always want to assume when there's a problem in business or something like that, or even in personal life, I always assume incompetence over malevolence, right? And that's easy to do. But when it keeps stacking, and then it happens this, as a retailer, I had people come in this week and say, if this continues, I will drop all the Marvel books. If this continues this, okay, 2 of these books, Savage Spider-Man and Maestro, were issue number 2s. You know, in this industry, we pretty much lose, I don't know if readership's the right word, but sales-wise, from an issue 1 to an issue number 2, there's a steep decline. Right? Well, how steep is it going to be now when somebody maybe was interested in Savage Spider-Man or the newest Maestro miniseries, and then they come in to get issue 2 and they see it, they feel it, they put it back on the shelf? That has happened. Less people are buying them than we anticipated. And will they come back for issue 3? Probably not. You know what I'm saying? So now that steep decline is going to be even steeper and more declining. It's just a terrible thing, right? Some people thought there was a conspiracy theory. They're leading us to digital. They want us to wait for the collected editions. I don't know if it's that deep. I think it's literally just like, can we save money? How far can we push this until we get too much back?
I would agree with you. I mean, let me say that the controversy type of explanation is a little too far. Okay. You know, and for me, the conspiracy theorists about anything, okay, not just this particular issue, about anything. You know, there were conspiracy theories, you know, I'll say it out loud. And I've had this discussion, and certainly the world has become a more divisive place. But, you know, when you have conspiracy theorists saying that, you know, that COVID is fake and it was a whole big plan, and, you know, it was this, it was that. My response to my friends when I discussed it, I said, well, they said, don't you believe it? I said, I don't. They said, why? I say, because in order for what you're saying to be true, you're assuming a level of coordination and competence in the world that is impossible to achieve.
Exactly.
Okay?
Yeah.
To pull that off, every major government in the world would need to be talking to each other, keeping it under wraps, and then coordinating this plan. I said, you guys, you can't get these people to agree on what time to have lunch. It's a hot mess. So the reason I don't believe it is I don't believe that kind of coordination could ever happen. That you're giving way too much credit. That you think these people could accomplish this. There's no way. All right, people are too stupid to coordinate on that kind of level.
Yeah.
So with this, I would say exactly the same thing. Is I don't think that anybody has looked that far to say, all right, this is a master plan to push everybody to digital. Okay, because if that were true, nobody would have ever invested any money in digital audio tapes, which was around for a minute before technologists just swept it around. I would agree with your theory, and more than likely, and I don't know if malevolence is the right word, because the problem with any public company is they're chasing after one thing and one thing only, and that's profitability. And sometimes when a company is public, they actually get a little dumber because there isn't really long-term planning, because you live and die by the quarter. So everything, it becomes more short term. And I think that somebody who said, hey, if we have thinner, crappier paper stock, we can save this much money. And given the amount of books that Marvel produces, that probably adds up. Okay, that probably adds up significantly for the profitability for the quarter. And somebody said, well, yeah, let's do it. And you know, then you have the other end of the business, you know, with MCU pumping stuff out, and that's doing very well. So they figure, what are they going to do? Not buy the comics? Well, a few might not. You know, there's another problem with reaching that size, is there's a level of corporate arrogance as well, especially when you control the market. You know, you figure, well, let's try it out and see what happens. Okay.
Yeah.
And there's nothing anybody can do. And they figure their loss, you know, if it gets too bad, we'll suck it up. We'll go back to the old way. And, you know, will people forgive us? Yeah, we'll put out another, you know, blockbuster movie. They'll forgive us, you know, or if they don't, we'll put something special, some Easter egg in the comic, and they'll be forced to buy it. You know, we'll find a way. It's no big deal. And then it moves forward. And I do believe that they did not anticipate the pushback that they were going to get. I think that they thought that they would just slide this under the table. Nobody would really complain. And that, more than anything else, is probably a lack of understanding by whoever happens to be the decision maker in this instance, of how comic book readers, fans, kind of look at this thing. Yeah. But here's part two of it that I don't think anybody's really thought of, is that somewhere, somehow, okay, and all the crappy paper that they've been pushing out, the content's probably going to be good because the content's created by creators. It's not always good, but you know that the creators are they're trying to push their best, their best story forward. There's going to be something in there, I'm assuming, that has content that people will want. And here's what's interesting is what happens to the aftermarket and speculation of books in this paper era, because that's what's really going to be interesting. What you're going to see is all of a sudden that any 9s or 8s or 7s or 6s are going to go way up in value because they're going to be very rare to find. Why? Because, as you say, if you live somewhere where it's kind of hot and humid and just walking the book to your car is going to cause it to ripple, you're not going to get a lot of 9s.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden there's going to be a scarcity of 9s. And if it's something that people want, irregardless of the paper quality, but because of the storyline, okay, somebody sees, reads it on digital. Oh my gosh, this is fantastic. I got to get me a copy. All right. And I only collect CGC 9s, let's say, 9s or higher. All of a sudden he's going to be shelling out a lot of money. I've seen this happen before. It's really, and it doesn't matter how, this is where grade or condition all of a sudden outweighs other factors, which was really interesting. And I'll give you one example. It was Wayne Gretzky's O-Pee-Chee rookie card. O-Pee-Chee and Topps. The cards look almost identical unless you flip it around over the back. Okay. But they use the same photos, same color card design, and one was released by O-Pee-Chee, one was released by Topps. And the difference between a 10 and a price between a 10 and a 9 off center is dramatic. I mean, like dramatic, like 5 figures dramatic kind of thing. Wow. And it might be more than that. I haven't really been keeping track of that. And the reason was that particular card, there was a mistake in printing or actually in cutting of the cards. So the Wayne Gretzky rookie card is horribly off center. The vast majority of them are. So when they used to put to make trading cards, you print out large sheets, and then the sheets go into a mechanical cutter. So maybe somebody didn't, make sure it was tight, or maybe it was off center a little bit. So when they ran it through the cutter, every Gretzky card turned out to be, horribly off center.
Yeah.
And then at the time when you're releasing it, everybody expected Gretzky to be something, but nobody knew he was going to be who he was going to be, right? So people are like, well, what do we go back? Reprint and, make sure the center, cut them, pack them, let's get them out the door. So that's why there's this price disparity. And I see this happening now in comics, depending on what comes out and how long this paper quality issue lasts. And all of a sudden, so that's not planned by anybody, but that's something, due to my, based on my experience, is probably something that's going to happen. So books of that nature that can actually grade high or higher are going to be very, very scarce because of this issue.
Yeah. And, Miles Morales is a spec favorite right now. And next week he's got a new issue, and it's going to be one of those issues that has this paper stock. So
yep.
Everybody go find the best one you can.
Yeah. Find the best one you can. Keep it out of any place that's hot and humid.
Exactly. Keep it out of
so
Alabama.
Everybody in the southern part of the country, there will be no high quality Miles Morales issues.
Well, Rex, thank you for once again tackling a cool topic of conversation. And you out there in the chat, we want to hear your experience with Marvel's paper quality this week, and just in general. Drop a comment below. You'll be entered to win the contest. That winner will be announced on Monday's show. And then on Monday's show, if you're part of the chat, you get entered to win a contest. We announce that on our Friday shows, just like we're about to do right now. Right, Rex?
All right. Yes, sir. And today's prize will be, these have been real popular, a Red Sonja metal cover. And you can see as I flash it around. Okay. And it is the Invincible Red Sonja number 6. And it is a Ken Hazer cover, a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle homage. And we've been, it's been really well accepted by the Dynamite readers out there. And this is, you can hear that, this is actual metal. This is not a foil cover. You cannot really bend it. The edges are sharp. Actually, to be quite honest, when we ship them out to Diamond to be fulfilled, the pre-orders, we actually, we were advised by legal counsel we should put a disclaimer on the bag, just like in your coffee cup, contents are hot. We put there, be careful, corners are sharp. So nobody cuts themselves.
Nice.
Yeah, so that is going to be the prize for whoever the winner is, and the winner is chosen from everybody that entered the chats on our Monday show. And we draw them today, Friday on Robbie's show. And then whoever enters the chat tonight will be entered for a drawing on Monday's show, and we'll announce the winner on Monday's show.
Yes, and the winner. Any
sense at all?
It did. It makes total sense. Makes total sense.
Are you sure? Because I just heard myself and it didn't make sense to me, and I know exactly what's going on.
Well, you know what's up, man. But there have been people that have been like, "Hey, man, I need your address. You just won the contest." Like, what contest? All right, but here we go. So everybody, make yourself aware of that contest. But the winner of that awesome Ken Hazer metal cover is J.D. Barry.
Oh, J.D. Barry. Awesome. That's one I know. So I will shoot out an email to JD Barry if he's not watching today, and I will copy you on it, my friend.
Absolutely awesome. Thank you very much. All right, Rex. Great show as usual. I know you guys got some streams coming up. Why don't you tell everybody about what's coming up?
We do. So on Monday from 6 to 8 Eastern, Robbie will be with us on our show on the Experience YouTube channel, and we'll probably end up talking about this a little bit as well. We always seem to topics that Robbie comes up with on Fridays seem to always bleed over into our Monday show, because he always picks up something interesting, and we just don't have enough time to cover it all. And then Wednesdays 6 to 8, also on the Experience, we'll be back with Comic Collectibles and Alec from AR Comics. Then Friday tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern to 8. Nick will be on the Experience with his original art show, some great original art to check out. Amy and I have also started doing a Whatnot show at 5:16 on Fridays. So if you're a Whatnot fan, you have time to check it out on Fridays, definitely do so. And we're doing Gem Mint, a show with Gem Mint tonight. So we'll have a lot of good Comic Collectibles on his YouTube channel as well. So awesome. We got a packed Friday.
Yeah, you guys got a packed Friday and a packed week next week. And coming up here at PCP tonight at 7 p.m. Central Time, we're doing a live Comics Revisited. We're going to be revisiting the 3rd volume of Neil Gaiman's Sandman, Dream Country, one of my personal favorites. And then join us Monday night for PCP March Madness, the conclusion, when we talk about 1986's April Fool's Day. Very excited for that. So,
I was going to ask you, and what is the next show after this Monday's? What movie are you going to be reviewing?
After April Fool's Day?
Yeah.
We're actually going to take off for 2 weeks. But then when we come back, it's going to be Ghost World.
Wait, it's going to be what?
Ghost World.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, based on the Daniel Clowes comic. We're going to be doing a 1-2 punch next month. We're going to do a Comics Revisited on Ghost World, and then the following Monday do a movie review of the movie adaptation. So I'm very excited for that.
Don't forget, Battle Beyond the Stars has to make the schedule. And I'd be happy to join you on that show.
Yeah, we're gonna put it in there at some point. All right, Rex, thank you so much for joining us. You out there, thank you for joining us. On behalf of everybody here at PCP Station, keep on reading. Pop, pop, boom.